Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Setsuna, Towa and Moroha. Part 1. Huge shout out to WINDSTORM16 for this story. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Standing across from each other were two 12-year-old children, a boy and a girl. The boy had spiky blonde hair, lightly tanned skin, bright blue eyes, and three unique whisker-like marks on his cheeks. His attire consisted of black and gray shoes, dark gray pants, a light purple-gray shirt, and a black jacket. While the girl had messy, short silver hair with a red streak in one of her bangs, fair skin, and had magenta-colored eyes. Along with wearing brown shoes, white pants, a blue shirt with a white collar, and a white jacket. Around both kids were also numerous thugs and delinquents lying on the ground, groaning in pain, while the two looked at each other in annoyance. "Hey. I don't know who you are, but this is my turf. So get lost," said the boy, with the girl scoffing and crossing her arms. "Why don't you do me a favor and shut up, Blondie, cause you're about as intimidating as a kitten. Besides, you're probably just all talk, like the rest of the losers I've knocked to the ground," the girl retorted, making the boy growl in annoyance. "Why don't you shut up? And my name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm gonna be the great street fighter in all of Japan. And I don't care if you're a girl, if you don't get lost now, I'm taking you down just like the rest of these assholes," said Naruto, while motioning to the thugs on the ground, with the girl not looking scared or worried at the threat. "Yeah, I'm sure you're real tough. You probably talked for so long, they passed out from boredom," taunted the girl, with Naruto glaring at her. "I'll make you eat those words, along with your teeth," Naruto retorted as both kids glared at each other. Though unknown to them, the image of a large demonic dog appeared behind the girl, while an equally large demonic dragon appeared behind Naruto. Both creatures growling and roaring at each other, respectively. The two then charged at each other, both of them throwing a punch that connected against the other's cheek, the resulting impact sending both of them flying back and knocking them down onto their backs. Something that shocked Naruto and the girl, that the other managed to hit them, even more that it actually hurt as well. Though Naruto soon got back up to his feet and charged the girl again, refusing to let a single punch take him out. Only for the girl to counter Naruto by bringing her knee up to his chin, knocking his head back. Before she got back on her feet as well, before grabbing him by the collar of his shirt and pulling her fist back to punch him. But Naruto managed to block her punch, with him then grabbing the wrist of the hand holding his shirt, pulling the girl in close and headbutting her, followed by bringing his knee up into her stomach, causing the girl to gag from the strike. But this allowing the two to break apart and jump back, putting some space in between them, the girl holding her stomach in pain. Before swiped the corner of her lips with her thumb after feeling something dripping from it, while Naruto spit out some blood from his mouth. "I'll admit, you're actually pretty good," the girl stated, seeing he wasn't just talk and he did know how to fight. "Thanks, I guess you're doing pretty good too, for a girl," replied Naruto with a taunting smirk, with the girl scoffing. "Please, if I was really trying, you'd already be on the ground," retorted the girl. "Then why don't you show me, after all, it wouldn't be as fun to beat you if neither of us were trying," Naruto said, making the girl smirk. "Fine, just don't cry when you end up on the ground," said the girl, as both got ready again, neither willing to back down or lose the fight. The two looked at each other for a moment before rushing each other, while the only sound being heard in the area is the sound of pounding flesh. Later. By the time Naruto and the girl were done fighting, the sun had begun to set while both kids were lying on their backs. Both of them being covered in bruises and other minor injuries, along with some slight tears in their clothes, the two panting in exhaustion from how long they'd been fighting and that they were actually challenged and won. "Okay, you're really good, that was the first time I actually met someone who could keep up with, much less push, me in a fight," Naruto said, with the girl nodding in agreement. "Yeah, I didn't think anyone would be able to challenge me like that. It was actually pretty fun to find someone that wouldn't go down after a few hits," replied the girl, as they both sat up and looked at each other. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki," Naruto introduced again, while offering the girl his hand, which she shook. "Towa Higurashi," introduced Towa as they shook hands. "Alright Towa, from now on we're rivals. And I'm not gonna stop until I finally beat you," said Naruto, making Towa smirk. "Not even in your dreams," Towa stated, as the two smirked at each other, knowing they won't stop until they beat the other. Flashback. Back when I was little, I had a younger twin sister, and we lived in the forest. The 4-year-old Towa ran through the forest laughing alongside another 4-year-old girl, with black hair with a red streak and purple eyes. The two girls laughing as they jumped across rocks, before taking a drink from a nearby stream. Before they continued playing, soon climbing up a tree together. "Let's go Setsuna," Towa said, standing up before jumping down. "Okay. Wait for me, sis," replied Setsuna before jumping down after her sister. With Towa spotting a piece of fruit, which she swiftly grabbed as the sisters landed on the ground. "Here, Setsuna. Want it?" said Towa, offering Setsuna the fruit, with the ravenet looking at the fruit in surprise before smiling. "Yeah, thank you," Setsuna said, taking the fruit as the twins continued on their way, with Setsuna eating the fruit as they walked through the woods. But the sun soon setting, the twins sat down and watched it together. "We were always together and we got along so well." Towa and Setsuna slept under a tree before the former was woken up by the sound of animals crying out, the silverette opening her eyes, only to be shocked when she saw the forest was on fire. "Setsuna, wake up. There's a fire," Towa said urgently while shaking her sister awake, knowing they needed to get out of here. "This way. Hurry," said Towa, grabbing Setsuna's hand as they ran through the forest. "Sis," Setsuna said in worry and fear as the forest burned around them. "It's okay. Just follow me. Come on, faster," Towa said, refusing to leave her sister behind. "So why, at that moment, did I let her hand slip away?" Unknown to Towa, Setsuna's hand slipped out from her own, resulting in her sister starting to fall behind. "Don't leave me, sis," Setsuna cried out, reaching out for her sister, only to be unable to reach her as she tripped and fell. Something Towa realized when she didn't feel her sister's hand anymore or heard her running with her, as the girl stopped and turned around. "Setsuna. Setsuna," Towa shouted while turning back to get her sister. "You came back," said Setsuna, seeing her sister came back for her. "Are you okay?" "I'm sorry I ran ahead like that," Towa said quickly before hugging her sister, worried that she almost lost her, not hearing the sound of a tree falling, though Setsuna saw it. "Ah. Sis, get out of the way," Setsuna yelled, pushing Towa away so she wouldn't be crushed by the tree, just as the burning tree crashed to the ground between them. Towa looking in fear and worry at not being able to see her sister anymore, before jumping over the tree, only to not see Setsuna anywhere. "Setsuna, where'd she go?" said Towa, looking around, before sniffing the air to catch her sister's scent, only to smell nothing but smoke and ash. "Sis. Where are you?" shouted Setsuna from somewhere in the forest, getting Towa's attention as she looked to where her voice came from. "Hang on, Setsuna," Towa shouted, rushing to try and find her sister. "Sis. Come on, where is she?" "Setsuna," yelled Towa as she got up on a rock to try and find Setsuna, only to gasp when her left eye emitted a silver light, while a rainbow portal opened up behind her and began sucking her through it. Towa tried grabbing hold of a root in the ground, only for it to break as she fell through the portal. "Setsuna," Towa cried out to her sister as the portal closed behind her. "Modern era. It took me a while before I realized what happened. I had been catapulted through time." Towa soon woke up to the feeling of a cat licking her face, only for the girl to look around in worry and confusion when she saw she wasn't in the forest anymore, not recognizing where she was. "What's going on? Where am I?" Towa muttered before looking up at the tree she was standing in front of, only for her attention to turn to a man approaching her. The man had black hair with distinctive bangs on the right side, pale skin, and brown eyes, while wearing a white polo shirt, a red tie, dark blue pants with a black belt, and black shoes. "Hello there. You okay? You're not lost, are you?" the man asked, smiling kindly while bending down to Towa's level, with the silverette looking at him warily. "My name's Smta Higurashi. And what's yours?" said Smta. Towa introduced slowly, with Smta smiling at her. "Nice to meet you, Towa," Smta said before going to ruffle her hair, only to stop when Towa recoiled away from him. Though when Smta looked at her more closely, he realized it wasn't where she was from, but when she was from. The man, not thinking he'd see anyone else from the feudal era again after his sister, Kagome, returned there and the Bone Eater well disappeared. "So that's it. You came from a very far off place, didn't you, Towa?" Smta stated, smiling as he stood up and looked up at the tree, with Towa looking up at him in surprise. "I don't know why, but at that moment, I knew I could trust this person. Please help. I'm looking for Setsuna. Can you help me find my sister?" Towa asked, hoping he'd help her try to find Setsuna, with Smta looking at her before crouching down and offering his hand. "Of course I will. Why don't we go look for her together?" suggested Smta, knowing if Towa and her sister both came to the present, then he needed to help them find each other. Towa looked at the offered hand in surprise, hesitating to take it before taking it in her hand. "Papa Smta helped me search, but we never did find Setsuna." Then flashback. Time skip 2 years. It's been 10 years since then. Papa Smta ended up adopting me, and as part of the Higurashi family, I go by Towa Higurashi. My memories have faded over time. Lately, I've been thinking that maybe that day was all just a strange dream. But one thing's for sure, Setsuna was definitely not a dream. That much I know. Towa, now 14 years old, yawned as she got up, wearing nothing but boxers and a sports bra, and walked over to the door leading to her balcony. Her room being filled with workout equipment, punching bags, Bakken and kendo swords on the wall, including a replica of the Kikijmanji, and a few trophies. Such nice weather. Well, time to brush my teeth. Towa stated, knowing she'll be starting her new school today, before heading to the bathroom. "Aye, Daddy," someone said. "Have a great day," replied Smta from the kitchen. "Morning, Towa," said the person, as Towa turned around to see a young girl. The girl had long light brown hair, big brown eyes, and a warm skin tone, wearing a pink button-up shirt with a purple vest over it, a dark pink skirt, pink socks, and a red backpack on her back. "Huh? Oh, good morning, May," Towa replied while smiling at May. "It's your first day at your new school, isn't it? Try not to get into any fights, okay? I'll see you back here later," May said while waving at Towa as she left. "Don't worry. I won't fight," said Towa, smiling and waving at the girl. That was May, Papa Smta's daughter by blood. She can be a little shy and naive, but she's also cute, smart, honest, and actually pretty talented. My sweet little sister. After finishing in the bathroom, Towa returned to her room to get dressed in her school uniform. The uniform consisting of a light graphite dress shirt with a red ribbon underneath a white suit with violet accents. She wears matching white pants with a brown belt and brown shoes. But maybe, the reason I cherish May so much is because she's a substitute for Setsuna, whom I never found. Grabbing her bag and putting it over her shoulder, Towa exited her room and prepared to leave. "I'm heading out," Towa called out to Smta. "Have a great day. Hey, wait. Hey, Towa, why are you wearing a boy's uniform to school again?" Smta asked, seeing his adopted daughter was wearing a boy's uniform again, despite her now being enrolled in an all-girls school. "You really want to know the reason why? It's easier to fight in, obviously. It's an all-girls school this time. Don't you remember what we discussed about no more fighting?" Smta reminded. "Yeah, of course I remember. See you after school," replied Towa as she left, but knowing it wouldn't matter if she's going to an all-girls school, it wouldn't stop the fighting. Not long after getting outside and beginning her walk to school, Towa stopped when she heard footsteps approaching her, only to smile slightly when she saw Naruto approaching her. Seeing he was wearing black boots, dark gray purple pants, a gray shirt, and a black jacket. "Hey Towa," Naruto greeted while smiling at the silverette. Ever since they met 2 years ago, they had stayed rivals and always fought each other, trying to finally beat the other, only for things to usually end in a tie or being cut short. Though over time, they began seeing each other as friends, becoming closer the more time they spent together. Even beginning to hang out whenever they could, instead of only to fight or train. "Hey Naruto, I was just on my way to school," said Towa, with a whiskered blonde nodding before raising a brow at her uniform. "Did you get transferred to a new school or something?" questioned Naruto, since that wasn't the uniform that she wore before, with the girl nodding as they walked beside each other. "Yeah, I'm now going to an all-girls school, so I should be wearing the girls' uniform. But the boys' uniform are always easier to fight in and are less likely to get in the way. So I'm sure I'll be hearing problems about it soon enough," Towa replied with a shrug, since she never was one for feminine clothing, feeling they were either too loose, too tight, or too revealing for her taste. "Well, I think you look really great in it, no matter what anyone thinks. Besides, it helps you stand out, at least more than you usually do, which makes it easier for me to find you," stated Naruto, seeing that Towa looked better the way she usually dressed than if she dressed like a regular girl. With his words catching Towa off guard, not expecting the compliment, before she looked away with a light blush on her face. "Thanks," Towa muttered, while feeling a little happy that Naruto thought she looked good the way she dressed, while Naruto soon blushed at realizing how his words could have come off. Leading to the two continuing on their way, walking in silence while not making eye contact with each other. "So what are you doing? Shouldn't you be getting to school too? Or is it just in the same direction as mine?" Towa asked after a few moments. "Oh, I actually dropped out," Naruto said in a rather nonchalant manner, causing Towa to trip and face fault onto the ground at how casually he said that. "Why would you do that?" Towa demanded in an alarmed voice, not believing he'd actually drop out of school. "Because it's my dream to become a world-class street fighter, not some suit-wearing salaryman," replied Naruto, while Towa stood up and dusted herself off. "Okay, I understand that, but aren't you worried? If you aren't in school, then people will start seeing you as some kind of delinquent," stated Towa, only for Naruto to scoff and scowl at her words. "Like it would have changed anything if I decided to stay," Naruto retorted bitterly, making Towa's eyes widen for a moment before gaining a solemn expression, knowing that he's right. "Not many people in Japan look like us or dress the way we do. Which makes us targets for other delinquents and thugs, and because we fight back, we're seen as delinquents ourselves. Just because we know how to fight back and the way we look. Towa thought, since it's actually the reason she's been transferred to an all-girls school to try and stop her from getting into fights. But it won't matter, and nobody seems to get it. Transferring to an all-girls school won't stop the fighting. Thought Towa, before she and Naruto suddenly stopped when they saw 5 thugs standing in front of them, thugs they recognized as ones they'd beaten up in the past, before. "Finally found you, Higurashi Uzumaki," said the leader of the group. "Word is you transferred schools again and you just flunked out, like a loser," the short one said. "Sounds like you're trying to run away from us," said the big one. "You can't dodge us that easily," the tall one added. "Ready to go," said the other short one. "Anyone we beat just keeps coming back for more," Towa thought while finishing her train of thought. "Like we'd need to run from dumbasses, like you," Naruto retorted, not at all intimidated by the 5. "And who said we were running away?" added Towa, knowing where this was going and that it wouldn't take very long. Later. Towa ducked under a punch from the big thug before punching him twice in the chest, followed by kicking him into the bridge they had started fighting under. With the big thug slumping to the ground unconscious. "Think you're so tough? Well, let's see how you like this," shouted the leader, charging Towa to punch her, only for the silverette to spin around him and kick him in the side of the head, sending him tumbling to the ground. With Towa then grabbing his arm and forcing it behind him before she began bending it in a way it couldn't bend, making the thug cry out. "And no, wait. You'll break it. Mercy," the leader begged, making Towa stop as she realized what she was about to do before looking at Naruto, who was leaning against the bridge. "You know you could have helped," Towa stated, with the Uzumaki shrugging and pointing at the 2 short thugs and the tall one. "You had it handled, besides, I got the 2 short idiots and the tall idiot, well you got the big idiot and the lead idiot. I'd say that's fair. Though with how quickly they went down, I'm beginning to question that," replied Naruto, since it didn't take long for them to go down, leaving him to watch Towa beat up the other 2. "Well, I still have to get to school, see you Naruto," Towa said while grabbing her bag and heading for school. "See you Towa," replied Naruto, waving at her before taking his leave as well, leaving the thugs to pick themselves up. "I swear, those 2 ain't human," the big one groaned, not believing how strong Naruto and Towa were. "I'm surprised they didn't finish us off," said the first short one, having thought they'd finish them for good this time. "Higurashi's too soft to do something like that, Uzumaki's the one that'd finish us," stated the tall one, knowing between the 2, Naruto's the one who'd be more likely to finish them off. "And he only doesn't because she doesn't. Even then, we still can't beat them," the second short one said, given if it wasn't for Towa being so soft, then Naruto would have put them down by now. "We can if we get bro to help us out. We'll go after Higurashi first, then deal with Uzumaki next," said the leader, before they all limped away to get their boss to help them. None of them noticing that Naruto hadn't completely left, having stayed behind the bridge support after hearing the thugs start talking. Peeking out and narrowing his eyes at them, Naruto made a mental note to keep an eye out on Towa and her adoptive family, in case they tried anything. Feudal era. "You guys are demon slayers. Who knew there was a job for something like that?" said a 14-year-old girl, sitting a river and waterfall, while surrounding her were several people wearing uniforms and carrying weapons. The girl was a young woman, though being rather short in stature, with long black hair that is tied into a ponytail, with 2 locks of it sticking out on each side of her face, brown eyes, fair skin, enlarged canines, and clawed fingernails. Wearing a red robe with short sleeves and short leggings, a red ragged cape, red hair ribbon, a pair of red leg warmers with black bows, and red fingerless gloves. The girl also wasn't wearing any shoes. This was Moroha, with her currently being hunted by demon slayers due to being 1/4 demon herself and them believing she was a full-blooded demon responsible for terrorizing the locals. "I mean, I had no idea. So, I guess you're here to slay me, Beniyasha," Moroha stated before standing up and laughing. "Don't make me laugh. You guys could never beat me. Not in a million years. In fact, I'll turn you all into lunch for my Kurikarameru," said Moroha before drawing her sword and smirking at the demon slayers. "Better get ready," Moroha said, eager for the chance to get a challenge from these guys. "Moroha, the demon killer," someone shouted, getting Moroha's attention as she looked up in confusion, seeing a teenager riding a 2-tailed Nekomata. The teen had a light skin tone, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, and indigo eyes. While wearing the traditional armor of a Imkai Tajiya, which consists of a black skin-tight jumpsuit, green armor plates made of Imkai bones that include a pair of black Teku arm guards and Tsunade shin guards, and a green Tintobi sash around his waist to carry Hidwakizashi. Along with holding a giant boomerang behind his back. This was Hisui, a demon slayer like his mother and uncle, Sango and Kahaku. Having inherited his mother's Hirokatsu and working with her loyal Nekomata, Kurara. "We're here on behalf of the local villagers and they've sent us to punish you, Hirokatsu," said Hisui before throwing Hirokatsu at Moroha, who jumped over the boomerang as it went back to Hisui. The local villagers sent you? Sorry, but you've got a demon and a bounty hunter, all the more reason to fight. Shouted Hisui as he directed Kurara to charge Moroha. Wait, Hisui. Said someone, jumping in front of Hisui and Kurara stopping them. The person was a man with fair skin, spiky brown hair that styled into a topknot, brown eyes, and a scar running across the bridge of his nose. The man was wearing a lavender kosode with long sleeves, and he wears a brown vest over it. He wears black baggy pants, white socks, and jettas. His Imkai Tajia is identical to the one he wore when he was younger, and he wears a short black shoulder cape over it, tied with a yellow string. What's wrong, Uncle Kahaku? Hisui asked, wondering why his uncle stopped him. Lady Moroha, am I to understand that some other demon is responsible for attacking the local village? Kahaku asked, with Moroha sheathing her sword. That's what I just said. But it's too late to stop now. You've made me mad, and for that, you'll have to pay the price. Moroha said, pulling out her shell compact showing red rouge inside. But this rouge, I will become Beniyasha, the destroyer of lands. Tremble before the bloodthirsty dawn. Moroha said, about to apply the rouge to her lips, only to freeze when a blade was held close to her head, though it wasn't the blade that made her freeze, but the scent she caught from the person. Hey, looks like you demon slayers work with an interesting companion. Stated Moroha as she looked at the person. It was a young woman, the same age as herself, though being taller with fair skin, long black hair with a hint of red, tied in a high ponytail, and violet eyes. Wearing a navy kimono-like skin-tight jumpsuit, along with dark violet armored plating on her chest, waist, left shoulder, and elbows. The elbow guard serves as a place to store small-scale demon slayer equipment. She also wears a lavender sash around her waist to carry a short sword. A large white fur over her right shoulder, which is split in two tails near the end. She also wears dark violet boots with lavender trimmings and matching white fur near the top. You're a Hanum, aren't ya? Well, guess what, Moroha said, sensing this girl was a Hanum. Silence. You're going to die. The girl cut off before Moroha drew her blade again and blocked her Naginata. Hanamitsu no Tomo, huh? Pretty fancy Naginata you got there. It's only fair, if I win this match, that I get to keep it. Said Moroha, not feeling perturbed at this girl trying to kill her. Setsuna. I'll back you up. Said Hisui, flying down to help Setsuna. That's not necessary. Setsuna replied, doubting she'll need help. Oh, so your name's Setsuna. Alright, I've made up my mind. Sorry, Setsu, but I'm taking your weapon. Moroha declared, pushing the Naginata back before backflipping away from Setsuna. Moroha then jumped toward Setsuna swinging her blade, which the Ravenet blocked with her Naginata's pole. Oh wow, so you actually saw through that. This might be fun after all, Setsu. Stated Moroha, not expecting Setsuna to block her, only for Setsuna to gasp as her right eye glowed gold, surprising the quarter demon. Wait a sec. Are you kidding? Moroha said, not expecting this before jumping back. I don't believe it. You have a rainbow pearl, too. Questioned Moroha, not expecting to come across someone else who had a rainbow pearl. What are you talking about? Setsuna said in confusion and feeling herself fall into a trance. Before either of them could say anything, they felt the ground rumbling, before what looked like a massive centipede burst out of the ground. Only the top part of it was a pale woman, completely naked, with long black hair and small pupils and eyebrows like Japanese princesses. Along with possessing 6 arms and a third eye on the center of her forehead. Give them to me. Give me your rainbow pearls. The demon shouted, sensing Moroha and Setsuna both possessed rainbow pearls. So, that's the one that's been attacking the village. Retreat. Kahaku called out, sensing this demon was stronger than they could handle. Hand them over. I want those rainbow pearls. Demanded the demon, while charging towards Moroha and Setsuna. Look out. Hisui shouted, having Kurara fly down and get Setsuna out of the way when she didn't move. Setsuna. You alright? Hisui asked, as Setsuna came out of her trance while her eyes stopped glowing, before getting onto Kurara's back. Mistress Three Eyes. I knew you'd show yourself, sooner or later, cause you could never resist this. Moroha stated, smirking, while opening her compact and showing the red pearl inside, with Mistress Three Eyes laughing giddily at the sight. There it is, the red pearl. Mistress Three Eyes said, eager to have the rainbow pearl. You're the one I've been sitting around here, waiting for. That bounty's mine. Say goodnight. Shouted Moroha, drawing her sword and jumping up, slicing at the demon's shoulder, only to see her blade didn't even cut into her. You're a bit tougher than that I thought, which means new tactic. Said Moroha before jumping back and taking out her bow, while knocking an arrow, knowing this'll work on the demon. Hey demon slayers. If you don't want to get mixed up in this, better get lost. Stated Moroha, smirking as she aimed at Mistress Three Eyes. Say what? Hisui said in confusion, only for his uncle to direct him away. Take this. Heavenly arrow barrage. Said Moroha, firing her arrow as it glowed pink, which Mistress Three Eyes dodged and laughed at. You missed, you fool. Mistress Three Eyes said, only to look up when the arrow returned and multiplied, with dozens of sacred arrows raining down and stabbing into her body, while the demon slayers were shocked at the sight of Moroha using sacred arrows. Are those sacred arrows? No, those are the arrows of sealing. How could Inuyasha have the spiritual power to use those? Kahaku muttered, while Moroha danced around at seeing she dealt with Mistress Three Eyes. I did it. Moroha cheered, only to suddenly stop at seeing the demon was still moving, before her compact suddenly flew away from her. What the hell? Hey! Shouted Moroha, trying to grab it back, only for Mistress Three Eyes to take the red pearl out and swallow it, causing her to grow fangs as her power increased. I want more. I want the other rainbow pearl, now give it to me. Mistress Three Eyes demanded before looking at Setsuna, sensing it was in her. Hisui, try and get Mistress Three Eyes to follow you back to Lady Keed's village. Kahaku instructed. You got it, uncle. Replied Hisui, before having Kurara fly away, with the demon following after them to get the rainbow pearl Setsuna had. Damn you. Give me back my red pearl right now. Demanded Moroha, rushing after Mistress Three Eyes, refusing to lose her red pearl. Later. Hisui and Setsuna soon arrived at Keed's village by nightfall, with Mistress Three Eyes still pursuing them. Give me the pearl. The demon shouted gleefully. I think we drew it far enough away. Hisui stated, as Setsuna looked at him. Hisui, I'm getting off here. Said Setsuna, refusing to keep running and knowing the demon was after her. Are you serious? Demanded Hisui in disbelief. It's following me for the pearl in my right eye, I'll use that to my advantage. Setsuna replied before jumping off, with Hisui calling after her as she did. You can't escape. Yelled Mistress Three Eyes, turning her attention to Setsuna as she landed on the ground. Take this. Cyclone burst. Setsuna shouted, spinning her Naginata around and creating a massive cyclone of wind, sucking Mistress Three Eyes into the cyclone and electrocute her. How dare you? Mistress Three Eyes screamed in pain and anger. I am Setsuna. These are the only words I have for you, I am the reason you will die tonight. Declared Setsuna, only for a red wave of energy to suddenly disperse her cyclone. Crimson Dragon Wave. Moroha shouted with her sword drawn. What the you again? Setsuna demanded in annoyance at seeing Moroha followed them. Sorry Setsuna. I know you want to take her down, but I got first dibs. Got it. Said Moroha, refusing to let anyone else steal her bounty, making the demon slayer scoff. Ridiculous. Muttered Setsuna, rushing towards the demon, only for her to grab her and her Naginata. Come to me, my lovely gold pearl. Mistress Three Eyes hissed, with Setsuna recoiling when she licked her face, before gasping as her eyes shined gold again, as the gold pearl emerged from it and was eaten by the demon. This is marvelous. Stated Mistress Three Eyes, feeling her strength grow even more at having a second rainbow pearl. That bastard absorbed the gold pearl, too. Moroha shouted, knowing this'll be even more difficult now that she has two rainbow pearls. The demon power of the rainbow pearls is already combining with my own. Mistress Three Eyes said as she transformed into a hideous monster form and began squeezing Setsuna with her centipede half. And break free. Setsuna grunted as she tried escaping the binding. Heh. Looks like absorbing the red and gold rainbow pearls has made old Three Eyes even stronger now. Don't worry, I'll be right over to get you out, Setsu. Said Moroha, much to Setsuna's annoyance. Stop calling me that. Setsuna shouted, not sure what was worse, the demon about to eat her or the one that won't stop calling her Setsu. But before anything else could happen, the tree of ages behind Moroha began glowing a bright blue before a rainbow-colored portal opened up behind her. What is that? Moroha said, before she was suddenly sucked into the portal. What's happening? Demanded Mistress Three Eyes as she and Setsuna were sucked in as well, with the portal soon closing behind them. Modern era Higurashi Shrine. Meanwhile, back in the modern era, Towa had rushed to the Higurashi Shrine after catching the scent of Mei crying and where it was coming from. Knowing her sister was in danger and refusing to let anything happen to her or her adoptive grandparents. Soon arriving to see the delinquents from earlier had tied Mei and their grandparents up to a tree, having taken them hostage. It's our lucky day, boys. That chick's gonna learn her place for roughing up your gang. Said the boss, as Towa arrived with a replica of Kikijmanji, having been cleaning it when she smelled her sister crying. Am I really? I guess we'll see. Said Towa, angry that they took her family hostage just to get back at her and Naruto. Towa, you're here. Said Mei through the tape on her mouth. Mei, Grammy, Grandpa, hold on. Towa said, swearing she'll save them. If you're looking for a lesson, I'll be happy to help. Said Towa glaring at the thugs, knowing she won't go easy on them this time, while the boss simply laughed at her threat. Better. The boss shouted as the tall one, short one and big one charged at Towa. Only for the tall one to get Towa's knee slammed into his chest, followed by an elbow to the back, the short one grabbed and thrown over her shoulder, and the big one having Towa's elbow slammed into his chest. All three of them falling to the ground, groaning in pain at the assault, while Towa faced the last one standing. "You're pretty good, honey. But I don't think you understand the situation." "Right," said the boss, looking to the other short one, who pulled out a switchblade and held it at Mei's throat. "Mei." Towa said in worry for her sister, but didn't make a move, not wanting them to hurt her sister. "I hope you haven't forgotten the fact that we've taken a few hostages," the boss said tauntingly, as Towa scowled before catching sight of someone sneaking up onto the short thug with a switchblade, making her smile at seeing it was Naruto. "And I hope you haven't forgotten, you lost it to us," retorted Towa, just as Naruto grabbed the delinquent's arm holding the switchblade and pulled it back away from Mei's throat. Before he forcefully broke it at the elbow, making the thug drop the weapon and scream in pain at his arm being broken. "You know, if there's one thing that really pisses me off, it's a bunch of punks like you picking on those weaker just to feel tough. Especially when you get children involved. Well, let's see how tough you are after this," Naruto said, grabbing the thug by his collar before headbutting, breaking his sunglasses with the shard stabbing into his eyes, blinding the delinquent who screamed in agony at the loss of his eyes. Before he then thrown at his friends, who looked terrified at what Naruto just did to him, while the whiskered blonde used a switchblade to cut the ropes around Mei, Mrs. Higurashi, and Grandpa Higurashi. "So, looks like it's just the two of us against a bunch of thugs," stated Naruto as Towa walked up beside him. "Yeah, seems kind of unfair for them anyway," Towa replied. "What the hell are they?" the big one shouted in fear. "They're not human. And we can't beat them," said the tall one, knowing this wasn't a fight they could win. "Let's get out of here," the short one screamed as they grabbed their fallen ally and ran away, aside from the boss and the leader from earlier. "Get back here, you cowards," yelled the leader, angry that they were running away. "Come on Mei, let's go," said Mrs. Higurashi, not wanting her granddaughter to see the fighting. "Please, you both have to stop fighting," Mei begged, not wanting Towa and Naruto to fight anymore. "It'll be fine, only one of us could handle this, both of us is simply overkill," assured Towa. "Yeah, your big sister is pretty strong, Mei. So you don't have to worry about her getting hurt," Naruto added. "You can't. I don't care if you're strong. If you keep doing things like this, you'll never stop fighting, ever. I know you'd rather do cute and girly things instead of fighting all the time, right? Come on, admit it," cried Mei as Towa stumbled slightly, embarrassed at her adoptive sister's words. To be honest Mei, there's a part of me that isn't ready to answer that question for you just yet," Towa said, embarrassed that they're actually talking about this now of all times. "You're supposed to say yes, even if you don't mean it," Mei shouted. "Sorry. I'm really sorry," said Towa as Mei began wailing. "You're a dummy. You know that," Mei yelled, much to Towa's further embarrassment. "And the moment's ruined. But this so funny, I don't even care," thought Naruto, trying not to laugh at the scene in front of him. All the delinquents were dumbfounded at what just happened, not expecting this to suddenly happen. Only for them to stiffen at the sound of approaching sirens. "The cops!" shouted the leader in worry at hearing police sirens, before they both ran away before cops could arrive, believing someone called the cops on them. Though when Grandpa Higurashi went to check the entrance, he saw the cops weren't coming to the shrine and instead only driving past to somewhere else, making the old man laugh slightly. "Looks like those police were only passing by. Fancy that," Grandpa Higurashi stated before looking back to see his great-granddaughter hugging her sister, with Towa comforting the crying Mei. "You big dummy. You said you'd never get into fights again," Mei shouted as Towa hugged her. "You're right. Please forgive me, Mei," said Towa, comforting her sister, knowing she didn't like her getting into fights, as she'd be treated as an outcast even more than she already was. While Naruto smiled at the sight of the two sisters before Mrs. Higurashi approached him. "Thank you for arriving when you did, Naruto. If it hadn't been for you, something could have happened to Mei," Mrs. Higurashi said, having been worried for her granddaughter. "No problem, Towa and I already ran into those guys earlier and I overheard them saying something about getting help. I'm just glad I arrived in time to help out," replied Naruto, glad he was able to help. "Well still, if you want, you're more than welcome to spend the night here," offered Mrs. Higurashi, wanting to repay him for his help. "If it's not too much trouble, then alright Mrs. Higurashi. That'd be nice," Naruto said, especially since he didn't really have anyone waiting for him at home, having never even known his parents. And combined with his blonde hair, blue eyes, lightly tanned skin, and whisker marks, it didn't make living in Japan very easy. Though suddenly, a gust of wind blew past them, causing Towa to stiffen as she suddenly caught a familiar scent, with the silverette looking at the Tree of Ages. "What's going on?" Towa muttered, wondering where the smell was coming from. "Towa," said Naruto, noticing his friend's look. "I don't like it," Mei said, feeling uneasy as she looked at the tree. "What's going on?" "I know this smell," said Towa, only to gasp and quickly pull Mei away from the tree just as a rainbow portal opened up in front of it. "Oh my, how peculiar," Grandpa Higurashi said, seeing the portal open, not having seen something like this before. "Towa, what is that thing?" Mei asked in confusion and fear at the sight of the strange portal. Before anyone could do anything, Setsuna, Moroha, and Mistress Three Eyes fell through the portal, much to everyone's shock. "That light, I know that light. That unbelievable bright place from my memories and this smell." "Setsuna," Towa said as her left eye glowed silver as she realized the smell was her sister, her twin sister. "What? Who could be calling my name?" Setsuna muttered weakly. "Damn it. Why do I feel so weak? Is it cause I came through the rainbow portal?" muttered Moroha, barely able to stand up before collapsing to the ground while Mistress Three Eyes shrieked in glee. "Wonderful, everything is perfect. The silver pearl is here as well. Now I'll have a pearl for each of my three beautiful eyes," Mistress Three Eyes said, sensing another rainbow pearl nearby before turning her attention to Towa, sensing that the pearl was coming from her. "Setsuna, I'll save you," shouted Towa, rushing forward to save her sister, refusing to lose her again after finally finding her, drawing her blade as she jumped towards the demon. With a shout, Towa swung her blade, only to be shocked when it immediately broke on contact with the demon. "Impossible. This thing's broke my Kikijmanji," Towa said in disbelief at how easily this thing broke her sword and didn't even have a scratch to show for it. Though she didn't have time to think further on this as she flipped over Mistress Three Eyes, dodging her lunge before Naruto managed to daze the demon by delivering a dive kick to the side of her head. "But Towa, any idea what this thing is?" Naruto asked, feeling completely lost at what's happening, yet saw how Towa didn't seem that surprised at the portal's appearance, along with seeming to know one of those girls. "How did that thing break my Kikijmanji?" said Towa as she looked at her broken blade, not hearing her friend's question. "What the hell are talking about? This thing ain't no Kikijmanji, it's a total knockoff. I mean look at it, the blade patterns are completely wrong," Moroha said, holding the broken off piece of the blade, seeing it's nothing but a copy. "Knockoff?" Towa asked, not thinking her sword was just a replica of the Kikijmanji. "Give it to me. I want the silver rainbow pearl you have in your possession. Hand it over," demanded Mistress Three Eyes while releasing Setsuna. "I can't move," Setsuna muttered, unable to move her body. "Silver? What are you talking about?" Towa said, not knowing what the demon's talking about. "Give it to me," Mistress Three Eyes screeched before lunging at Towa. "You broke my Kikijmanji. You hurt Setsuna," shouted Towa as her eye glowed silver, followed by a blue energy blade, much the surprise of Moroha, Setsuna, Naruto, and the Higurashi family. Even more so, when Towa swung the energy blade and stabbed it into the demon's stomach, actually piercing straight through Mistress Three Eyes, making her shriek in pain. "That is so cool," Naruto exclaimed in starry-eyed awe at seeing Towa with what essentially looked like a lightsaber. "I know, right, she created a demon energy blade with her own power," Moroha said in amazement as Towa pulled her sword out with it returning to a broken blade. Did I really do all this?" Towa wondered, confused at what just happened. "Hey, you. Hurry up and finish her off already," Moroha shouted, her amazement being replaced by annoyance that Towa wasn't finishing the demon off. "What? I don't want to be a killer," retorted Towa, not wanting to actually kill someone, even if the thing clearly wasn't human. "This isn't the time to hesitate," said Moroha. "Just kill it already or it'll kill us," Setsuna said, wondering why she's hesitating on killing a demon. "What?" Setsuna, Towa said, not expecting her sister to tell her to kill something, only for her eyes to widen in fear when the demon turned to her family and rushed towards them. Only for Naruto to jump in front of Mistress Three Eyes and stab the demon in her third eye with the switchblade he swiped from the thug. Mistress Three Eyes shrieking in agony at the strike from Towa and now her third eye being stabbed. Even more so when she started feeling demonic energy seeping through the knife into her head. "You boy, you have demonic energy? How?" Mistress Three Eyes yelled, now sensing that Naruto possessed demonic energy. "What the hell are you talking about?" said Naruto as the demon laughed. "Yo you don't even can no th that po power, th that raw primal, ma malice, it's just like," said Mistress Three Eyes before she began disintegrating until only her skull and the rainbow pearls were left. "Well, at least one of you knew not to hesitate," Setsuna stated as her strength began returning. "Woohoo. I can finally move again," said Moroha, standing up as well and went over to join Naruto and Towa. Before they saw their rainbow pearls fly over to them, with Moroha gladly taking hers back while Setsuna watched as her gold pearl flew back into her eye. "Naruto, are you alright?" Towa asked, looking at her friend in worry, with Naruto nodding shakily after a few moments. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just realizing I really killed someone, even if it was a giant man-eating, bug, monster, thing," said Naruto, shaken at just having his first kill and what the demon said. "Demon, that thing was a demon, and you shouldn't feel bad. You did the right thing in killing it," Setsuna said, getting the others' attention as Towa went up to her sister. "Setsuna," Towa said, smiling at her sister, only to stop when she pointed her naginata at her and Naruto, narrowing her eyes at them. "However, it would seem that both of you are demons as well. But first, tell me, how do you know my name? Who are you?" demanded Setsuna, wanting to know how Towa knew her name. "What? Setsuna, it's me, Towa, your sister, don't you recognize me? When we were little you called me sis, we grew up together in the forest, we got separated during a fire, because Towa said before stopping, still hating herself for letting go of Setsuna's hand, while Setsuna looked at her blankly, not having any recollection of what she talked about. "You'll forgive me if I don't believe you, as I don't have a sister, nor do I have any memories of ever knowing you," said Setsuna, much to Towa's shock, hurt that her sister didn't remember her. The Silverette wondering what could have happened to her after they were separated. No one said or did anything as Setsuna pointed her naginata at Naruto and Towa, much to the whiskered blonde's annoyance. Not only at the weapon being pointed at him and his friend, but that she had also upset Towa as well. Leading Naruto to walk up and grab the naginata before shoving it away from them. "Why don't you put that thing away before you hurt yourself? And second, why don't you also explain what the hell is going on? And why you were even pointing that at us to begin with?" Naruto demanded, glaring at Setsuna, who narrowed her eyes at him, worrying Towa and her family that a fight may break out between them. Thankfully, the tension was broken when Moroha held up the skull of Mr. Three Eyes. "Hey. You don't care if I keep the head, do ya?" Moroha asked, given she didn't make the kill, she wanted to make sure they didn't mind her keeping it to collect the bounty for Mr. Three Eyes. "No. Just take it," said Setsuna, not caring if she took the head or not, with Naruto looking at the skull, remembering what the demon said about him having demonic energy. "What did that thing mean anyway? About me having demonic energy? That can't be true, can it?" Naruto said, given he doubted he could have demonic energy or any kind of power like that, only for Moroha to get close to him and sniff him. "Actually you do have some. I can smell it on you now that my strength's back. But it's pretty faint, so it's not likely you're a Harem. But I won't be surprised if you turn into one later on, once you properly unlock and start using your demonic energy, that is," said Moroha, now being able to sense Naruto did possess some latent demonic energy inside of him. "Did that actually happen?" Naruto asked, honestly not sure on how to feel about that, learning he could potentially turn into a Harem. There have been cases of humans that are of demon descent being able to awaken their own latent demonic powers. But it usually doesn't happen for a century or two. For yours to begin awakening after this many centuries, you must have had a powerful ancestor for their power to still linger inside of you," revealed Setsuna, while Moroha sniffed Naruto again and grinned. "Oh yeah? While it's faint, the power inside you is still pretty potent and intense. I bet that you have to be descended from a Denkai for you to start awakening your power," Moroha stated, with Naruto nodding slowly in acceptance at this, before looking back at Setsuna with narrowed eyes. "And you still haven't answered me. Why did you point your weapon at me and Towa? 'Cause if you're really the same Setsuna that Towa told me about, you two were as close as sisters could be. Now you're acting like you were going to kill her," said Naruto, still angry at Setsuna for acting hostile to Towa, with the Silverette putting a hand on his shoulder before stepping forward, looking at her sister in sadness. "Setsuna, I'm so sorry. Because this is my fault, isn't it? You're angry because I let go of you that day. That's why you're acting cold, treating me like a stranger. I don't blame you though, but we are sisters, we grew up together, played together in the forest, and you always called me sis. The day we were separated, there was a fire, I let go of your hand, but I went back for you. Then you pushed me away from a tree that was falling towards us, and then we lost each other. That's the truth, Setsuna," Towa said, stepping forward, only for Setsuna to jump back. "Setsuna," said Towa, only to see her sister still looking at her with narrowed eyes. "I already told you, I don't know who you are, nor do I have a sister. And if you value your life, then don't take another step," Setsuna threatened. "Towa, I think she may be telling the truth, that she really doesn't remember. With how you two were separated and how long it's been, she must have lost her memories due to the trauma of just how you were both separated," said Grandpa Higurashi, getting everyone's attention before they began thinking about it, knowing that may be the most likely reason why Setsuna doesn't remember. "That does make the most sense," Naruto stated, given if Setsuna was just acting cold to Towa, then she probably wouldn't go as far as to threaten to kill her. "Probably. I mean, if that happened to me, I'd wanna forget everything too," said Moroha with a shrug. Towa and Setsuna didn't say anything as they continued looking at each other, the silverette's guilt and self-loathing only increasing at hearing this. Knowing it's her fault that Setsuna doesn't remember anything, now only seeing her as a stranger. Well, for Setsuna, it didn't really matter to her, having never been concerned on why she couldn't remember her childhood. I have to try and fix things. Towa thought, walking towards her twin, wanting to do something to try and help her, with the ravenet narrowing her eyes at her. I warned, now you're dead. Setsuna said as her eye glowed gold before she swung her naginata at Towa, only for her to lean back and avoid her strike, before jumping back to dodge all her other strikes as well. Stop running. Demanded Setsuna. Not a chance. You're acting like you really want to kill me. Towa retorted, not believing that even without her memories, her sister would really try to kill her. Because I am. Setsuna said, like it was obvious and would have tried to attack again, only to feel something holding her weapon, before looking to see Naruto glaring at her while holding her naginata. You weren't killing anyone. And I thought I said to put this thing away before you hurt yourself. Said Naruto, with Setsuna glaring at him. You can't tell me what I can or can't do. And I've been trained to use the Kanemitsu no Tomo since I was a child. The only ones who get hurt are those that I'm aiming to hurt. Setsuna retorted. Oh, how cute, you named your toy. Do you name all your toys, or is this one just special? Naruto taunted, much to Setsuna's growing anger. It's not a toy. It is an ancient weapon used to slay demons and complete fools, like you. Yelled Setsuna, getting angrier than she's ever been before. Yeah, you're really intimidating, so intimidating that you haven't even taken it back yet. Replied Naruto, the ravenet growling as she tried taking her weapon back from Naruto, only for him to refuse to let go. Let go, right now. Setsuna demanded, with the Uzumaki shrugging in response before he smirked. Okay. Naruto said, letting go, with the resulting momentum causing Setsuna to fall flat on her back, making the Harem glare murderously at him as she stood up. You did that on purpose. Shouted Setsuna. Hey, you said let go and I did. Or maybe you hit your head a little hard there and got amnesia again. Naruto stated tauntingly, with Setsuna shaking in rage, before Moroha got between the two with Mistress Three Eyes' skull. Come on guys, let's be friendly here. Especially you, Setsuna. Said Moroha while using the skull as a puppet. What's the harm in letting her near you? And Whiskers there is right, you gotta relax Setsu. Moroha said. Silence. Setsuna yelled, refusing to deal with both of them at the same time, with the quarter demon simply looking at Naruto and Towa. I'm Moroha, by the way. My bounty hunter buddies call me Moroha the demon killer. It's nice to meet you both. So, what are your names? Questioned Moroha since they hadn't gotten to learn their names. Towa Higurashi. Towa introduced. Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm glad to know one of you has polite manners. Said Naruto, directing the last part to Setsuna, who merely glared at him in pure annoyance. Towa, okay Towa, are you really Setsuna's sister? Moroha asked. Of course I am. I'm her older twin, but we got separated in a forest fire 10 years ago. Answered Towa, refusing to have anyone doubt that she and Setsuna are sisters. Well, there you go. Moroha stated while looking at Setsuna, seeing that Towa was telling the truth, along with feeling their demonic energy was similar enough for them to really be twins. I've been alone ever since I can remember. Retorted Setsuna, still not believing this claim of them being sisters. Can't imagine why, you have such a sunny disposition. Naruto said sarcastically. I will kill you. Setsuna hissed, swearing she'll make him suffer. And here I thought we were just starting to get along Setsu. Replied Naruto as he smirked at her, the ravenet merely growling. Yeah, but both of you are Harem, Moroha said while raising her sword to block Setsuna's strike. And when you're as good as I am, you can tell just from the feel of your demon energy. See Setsuna, you're a Harem. I mean how else can you explain a rainbow pearl being in your eye? Which makes you a Harem too, Towa. Said Moroha while looking at the silverette. I'm a what? Towa asked, never hearing that term before until just now. A Harem is someone who has the blood of both a demon and a human. Naruto here isn't a Harem, not yet anyway, only demon descendant at the moment. You and Setsuna though have much more recent demon blood, going by how strong it is, and you both have really similar demon energy, which only further proves that you're both sisters. Said Moroha before sniffing Towa again. And if I'm not mistaken, which my nose never is, your dad's the Denkai Sessamaru. Am I right? Said Moroha in excitement that she's meeting the daughters of Sessamaru. Who's Sessamaru? Towa asked, having no idea who that is. Setsu? Moroha asked, looking at the demon slayer, who merely looked at them with narrowed eyes and remained silent, making Moroha shrug. Well either way, even if Sessamaru is your dad, having human blood means you'd still only inherit half his power. And something tells me that's the main reason Setsu is always so edgy. stated Moroha, making Setsuna's eye twitch in annoyance, which Naruto took notice of, making him smirk. Is that why you chose such a big weapon? You're hoping it'll make you look as strong as your big sister and daddy dearest? Naruto asked teasingly, as Setsuna looked at him warningly while clenching her fists. Shut up. Setsuna said through gritted teeth. Don't worry Setsu, I'm sure big sister Towa can keep you safe with her cooler and more useful demon sword. Naruto assured, while Setsuna was doing her best at restraining her temper. I told you to shut up, Setsuna said slowly. You alright Setsuna? Your face is looking a little red, maybe you need to lie down, said Naruto, smirking, as the Hanem's eye twitched rapidly. You stupid, arrogant, annoying, smug, stupid, how is he doing this? Setsuna mentally screamed, wondering how he's able to get under her skin so easily when she's usually able to keep her composure, no matter what the situation is. Yet she hasn't even known Naruto for an hour and already wants to simply beat his annoying face in. Regardless of heritage, blood, or power, if you're truly my older sister, then you can prove it to me with your strength. Setsuna stated, aiming her Naginata at Towa, wanting proof that she's her sister by seeing how strong she is. I don't need to prove anything, because I'm not lying, retorted Towa, refusing to fight her sister or prove anything when it's the truth. Empty words mean nothing to me, said Setsuna, preferring actions over words. Sister of the year people, sister of the year, Naruto said sarcastically. You stay out of this. And you stay out of it too, said Setsuna, glaring at him before turning to glare at Moroha when she moved to try and speak as well. None of the girls noticing something burrowing underground before jumping out towards Towa to bite her. Towa, Naruto said, seeing the creature jumping towards her, leading to him pushing her out of the way, grunting in pain when the demon instead bit him. Naruto, shouted Towa in shock and worry for her friend, getting Setsuna and Moroha's attention at seeing the demon vanishing, while purple scar-like markings appeared around his left eye. Is that a Setsuna said, readying her Naginata, while not expecting to see another demon in this era. Hinata and looks like it just made him its host. And it seems to be waking up more of his demon energy, said Moroha, adding the last part at sensing Naruto's demon energy began growing. Well, isn't that just great? Stated Setsuna in annoyance. See? This is what we get for letting our guard down, Moroha said, just as annoyed that they let down their guard and couldn't sense the Hinata. Forget that. Is there a way to get it out of him? Towa asked in worry for her friend, while drawing her demon energy blade. Yeah, cut it out, said Setsuna before rushing forward, eager for the chance to knock around the whiskered blonde. Only to be shocked when Naruto appeared in front of her, before gasping in pain when he slammed his foot into her stomach, sending her flying back. Setsuna. Are you alright? Said Towa, grabbing her sister before she could hit the ground. I'm fine. The Hinata's begun awakening more of his power and it knows how to use the power of whatever body it's in, Setsuna said, standing up while rubbing her stomach at the impact. What's going on? Why is Naruto attacking you three? Mrs. Higurashi asked in worry. Stop it. What are you doing? Said Mei, not liking what she was seeing. That's not Naruto, he's being possessed by a demon. You three, just stay back, Towa said, not wanting her family to get caught in the fighting. Beating the Hinata isn't the problem, it's that it can use the powers of whoever it's inside and we have no idea what kind of powers he has. This is so damn annoying, said Moroha before jumping out of the way to dodge a blast of blue and black demonic energy from Naruto. Naruto then grabbed Towa's energy blade, surprising Setsuna and Moroha that he could hold it without being injured. Naruto, please. I know you're in there, somewhere. Are you really going to let some parasite demon control you? Towa demanded, hoping to get through to her friend. Only to cry out when the Hinata jumped out of Naruto and bit her, before vanishing as the same purple markings appeared over her eye. Ugh, what the Towa? Naruto said in worry for his friend when he saw the markings going through her eye before he was pulled back by Moroha. And now the Hinata's inside her, wonderful, Moroha said sarcastically before seeing Towa turn her attention towards Setsuna, jumping at her and swinging her energy sword, which extended towards the Ravenet. Setsuna jumped out of the way and onto the roof, surprised at seeing the blade grow and extend like that. I see, interesting. That's your demon energy's true potential. Then perhaps I'll treat you as a worthy opponent, said Setsuna, running and jumping onto the training area for more space. Hey. I already told you, you aren't going to hurt her, Naruto said while running up to where Setsuna and the possessed Towa were fighting, along with Moroha. Yeah, you aren't seriously gonna kill your sister, are you? Questioned Moroha, with Setsuna not wavering at their words. Anyone standing against me is my enemy. Cyclone burst, Setsuna said, spinning her Naginata around and creating a large cyclone that began sucking everything in, with Naruto and Moroha holding onto the railing to avoid being pulled in. While Towa looked at it before jumping right into the cyclone, before swinging her blade and cutting it in half, causing it to disperse. What? Impossible. Said Setsuna, not believing she'd be able to dispel her cyclone, before seeing Towa diving down towards her. Crimson Dragon Wave. Shouted Moroha, swinging her sword, releasing a crimson energy dragon, forcing Towa back before she or Setsuna could attack each other. That was uncalled for, this is my fight. Setsuna said. Yo, Setsuna. You're a demon slayer, aren't you? Shouldn't you have like a potion or something to weaken the Hitmonchan? Moroha asked, preferring if she didn't jump straight to killing Towa. Before Setsuna could respond, Towa rushed towards her before slashing her sword at her repeatedly, the Ravenet blocking her strikes with her Naginata before the Silverette began pushing her back. Luckily, Setsuna was able to push her energy blade aside and swipe at her, only for Towa to jump away and kick off a railing to take another swing at her. With Setsuna deflecting the attack, sending Towa skidding back across the area. Scourge of Swallows. Said Setsuna, swinging her Naginata up, releasing numerous green energy-shaped swallows at Towa, who channeled more power into her sword and swung it, creating a shield that blocked the swallows. Setsuna taking the chance to jump up and attack her from above, with Towa flipping out of the way and dodging the attack. Towa, you have to stop. Mei cried out, having escaped her grandmother and great-grandfather to try and help her sister, not wanting to see her fight. Mei, get out of here now. Said Naruto, not wanting her to get hurt, knowing Towa would never forgive herself if she hurt Mei. Mei. Mrs. Higurashi said, running to get her granddaughter away from the fighting, with Grandpa's Higurashi following after her. Towa looked at Mei before the Hitmonchan emerged again and lunged at the little girl, biting her eye with Mei crying out in pain. Mei. Said Mrs. Higurashi, only to gasp when Mei looked at them, showing the markings going through her eye. Damn, that bastard. It transferred over to the kid. Moroha said, angry at the Hitmonchan possessing a kid now. Mei, oh no. Said Towa as she got up, seeing her adoptive sister picking up a rock. Mei, what are you doing? Mrs. Higurashi said in worry. Is she being controlled? Wake up, Mei. Said Grandpa Higurashi, in an attempt to try and get through to her, only for Mei to keep approaching them. Hold it right there. You figured a small child would be easier to control. How foolish. Setsuna stated, knowing that now the demon didn't have access to any power and was helpless inside Mei's body. What are you planning to do? Grandpa Higurashi said. Don't worry, I'm going to cut out the Hitmonchan. Revealed Setsuna, much to their shock and horror. You can't. Towa shouted, jumping over Setsuna, refusing to see her twin sister hurt her adoptive little sister. Don't touch her. I won't let you scar her face. I've already troubled to this family, and I won't trouble them even more than I already have. Said Towa, since they wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for her fighting those thugs, not wanting to put them in any more danger than she already has. DSK, such naivety. Setsuna muttered, not believing she'd stop her from dealing with the demon. What did you say? Demanded Towa, not believing her twin would say that, only to feel something hitting her, before looking down sadly at Mei hitting her with a rock. Mei, this is my fault. I'm so sorry. Towa said, hugging her adoptive sister, not caring about being hit by the rock. As long as you're alive, you will always trouble someone, whether you mean to or not. Stated Setsuna, annoyed at her naive personality. Hey, stop that. Grandpa Higurashi said. That's your sister. Said Mrs. Higurashi. It's fine, it's alright. It'll be alright, I promise. Towa said, not letting go of her sister. Setsuna looked at the scene for a moment before closing her eyes and spinning her Naginata around. Moon of the Resting Moth. Setsuna said, summoning a swarm of moths that released a golden powder over the Higurashi family, causing them to fall to the ground unconscious. When the moths vanished, Setsuna went to walk over to them, only for Naruto to grab her by the collar. What did you do to them? Naruto demanded, glaring at her, while wanting to know what Setsuna did to his friend and her family. Did you kill them? Questioned Moroha, jumping down, with her question only angering Naruto further. Did you just kill them? Said Naruto, swearing to make her pay if she did, not caring if she's Towa's twin or not. The resting moth's powder only makes you fall asleep. They're far from dead. Setsuna revealed, before pushing Naruto's hand off her, with the Harem then opening up her elbow guard while looking at Mei, seeing a spiritual version of her appear. You saved us. Thank you. Just this once. Stated Setsuna, pulling out a green packet before dropping it over Mei, sprinkling a green powder, causing the purple markings to vanish as the Hitmonchan appeared screeching in pain as it tried slithering away, only to shrivel up and die. Looking at the Hitmonchan for a moment, Naruto suddenly bashed Setsuna on the back of her head, sending the Harem crashing to the ground. Ah. What the hell was that for? Demanded Setsuna, angry at the sudden attack while Naruto glared at her in annoyance. Why the hell didn't you do that to me and Towa when we were possessed? Instead, you just went straight to trying to kill us. And why did you threaten to cut Mei's face open when you could have just done that? Naruto retorted as Setsuna got up and got in his face. Hey, I got rid of the damn thing, didn't I? That's more than you did, getting possessed like you did. Why don't you try saying thank you? Shouted Setsuna, with the two glaring at each other. At least I saw the thing coming and refused to let Towa be possessed. Yelled Naruto. And look how great that turned out, she got possessed immediately after you. I guess the Hinata didn't want to stay trapped in that fat head of yours. Setsuna retorted. It also didn't try possessing you. I guess that possessing a kid would have been less annoying. Naruto said. You would know. You probably have the mentality of a toddler when compared to her. Yelled Setsuna while pointing at Mei. At least I don't try to cut a kid's face open. Naruto retorted. At least I actually did something smart and didn't let myself get possessed. Shouted Setsuna, the two glared at each other with lightning sparking between them. Hey, well you guys are having your lovers quarrel, is it fine if I take the Hinata? Moroha asked, smirking in amusement, while Naruto and Setsuna snapped out of their arguing, blushing at her words, while realizing just how close they were, making the two hastily step away from each other. Shut up. Naruto and Setsuna muttered, before glaring at each other again, while Moroha snickered to herself at the sight. Later Higurashi Kondo. Did Towa already go to bed? Asked Mo Higurashi, Sumta's wife and Mei's mother. Yeah, she said she was really tired. Sumta replied, knowing their adopted daughter would be tired after everything that's happened. I bet. Things sure have taken an interesting turn. Mo stated, looking over the broken Kikijmanji, along with the skull of Mistress Three Eyes and the Hinata's body, while Sumta laughed sheepishly. I mentioned it before, didn't I, that demons were real? Said Sumta, having told his wife about demons being real, which she thankfully believed, rather than thinking he was crazy. Yes, you did. I've always believed you, so that's not an issue. Although this Kikijmanji, on the other hand, I had been holding on to this for the museum for safekeeping. But that's life. We've had it this long, so we'll just keep holding on to it. Said Mo, not that concerned about the sword, simply glad that everyone was safe. Towa's room. Meanwhile, Naruto and Setsuna were inside Towa's room, with the demon slayer looking out the window and Naruto sitting at the desk under Towa's bed. With there simply being an awkward silence between the two, only occasionally glancing at each other before quickly looking away. I really wish Towa was awake. Thought Naruto, glancing up at his friend's sleeping form, wishing she was awake to help ease some of the awkwardness. Living room. Mommy, listen. We need to talk about Towa right now. You're not gonna believe this. Towa's powers are so cool, you should have seen it. And Naruto's too, they both moved really fast and jumped really high. Towa had a cool sword that looked like a lightsaber, and Naruto could use energy attacks, like an anime character. Mei said, excited at the powers Naruto and Towa had. Yeah. I have to admit, I already knew she could do extraordinary things. But I wasn't expecting Naruto to have powers too or have demon blood at that. Said Sumta, since he always believed that Naruto was human, so it was surprising to learn he's descended from a demon. Oh, I'm not too worried about Towa and Naruto. Those have been troublemakers for years now, so I'm used to it. Besides, at least I know they'll be able to take care of each other. Mo said, with Sumta nodding in agreement with his wife. I guess you're right. What we really need to talk about are those girls from the other era. Sumta stated, given one wasn't only Towa's missing twin sister, but the other, if his mother and grandfather were correct, was his niece, Kage's and Inuyasha's daughter. Woo. That felt awesome. Moroha said, exiting the bathroom after taking a hot bath, having never experienced something like that. But the quarter demon coming out completely naked, with only a towel around her shoulder, causing Mo to cover Sumta's eye, while she and Mei were blushing at the sight. You wanna know what? I've never splashed around in hot water like that. Said Moroha, grinning, while not seeing the problem with her current nakedness. Oh, how nice for you. Well, it's getting late, what do you think? You ready to turn in? Mo asked quickly. Good idea, I think I will. Thank you. But damn. That was really amazing. Said Moroha as she headed for Towa's room. Towa's room. By the way, my mother, grandfather and I have a theory about that girl. We thinks it's possible she's the daughter of my big sister, Kage, and Inuyasha. Said Sumta, with Naruto and Setsuna overhearing them through the walls. Oh. That would mean we have a new relative on our hands. Mo said. If we're right, then yeah. Sumta stated. Well, letting the girls stay a while shouldn't be a problem in that case. Replied Mo. Yay. Now I don't just have an older sister and older brother to play with, now I have two more older sisters as well. Mei cheered, causing Naruto to chuckle at the girl's excitement, before smirking at Setsuna. So Setsu, how's it feel knowing you and Towa are Moroha's cousins? Said Naruto, making the Ravenet narrow her eyes at him. What are you talking about? Setsuna demanded, not knowing how they could be cousins. Just that your dads are half-brothers. Towa and I heard stories from the Higurashi family about Kage's trips to the past, along with meeting Inuyasha and the sibling rivalry between him and Sesshomaru. Meaning that you and Towa are Moroha's cousins. Naruto said, with him and Towa having initially believed the stories were made up but seeing that there might have been some truth to them. Wonderful. Muttered Setsuna, releasing a huff of annoyance at the idea of being related to Moroha. And tell me, just how long do you plan to try and provoke me? Setsuna asked, with Naruto merely smirking at her. As soon as you learn to lighten up and develop a sense of humor. And who's trying, Setsu? From where I'm standing, it seems like I'm pretty successful at getting under your skin. Naruto replied, making the Harem glare murderously at him. I swear I will, Setsuna shouted, only to be cut off by the door opening, and in walked a naked Moroha. The sight catching both Setsuna and Naruto off guard, both of them blushing at the sight, with the latter also getting a nosebleed. Something that made Moroha gain a teasing smirk before she began posing provocatively in front of Naruto. Like what you see? Moroha asked slyly, before turning around and sticking her butt out in front of Naruto, the whiskered blonde's face glowing red at the sight, though he didn't try to look away. You're just a pervert and you're just shameless. Stated Setsuna, unamused at the sight. Hey. She's the one that just walked in here naked and started posing. What else am I supposed to do? It's a natural reaction to something like that. Naruto said in his defense. Speaking of natural reactions. Said Moroha, pointing at Naruto's pants, where there was a bit of a bulge at the crotch, causing Setsuna to look at the Uzumaki with an unamused expression. I can't control it. What else did you expect after she walked in here like that? It's a natural reaction for teenage boys. Said Naruto in his defense, while trying to hide his embarrassment. Would you all shut up? Towa shouted, having been woken up by the ruckus while looking at them all in annoyance, only to take notice of what's going on, with the naked Moroha and Naruto's reaction to her. Causing the silverette to give them both a dry glare of jealousy and annoyance, with Moroha simply smirking and Naruto looking at her with wide eyes. I swear, it's not what it looks like. Naruto said quickly. Living room. Well, back in the living room, Sma, Mo and Mei all heard what was going on, with the three gaining deadpan expressions and sweat drops. Well, it's good to know they're getting along. Sma stated. Later, Towa's room. After everyone had calmed down, with Moroha now wearing the white robe she wears under her robe of the fire rat. With them now making small talk to try and get to know each other better. Setsuna, Towa said to try and speak with her sister, only for Setsuna to interrupt her. Stop. Even if what you've said is true and we are twin sisters, this is not something I can so readily accept. Said Setsuna, still having her doubts that they're sisters. Come on, just accept it already. You saw how much demon power she had, along with both of you having similar demon energy. The way I see it, she can't be lying. Moroha stated, knowing they were twins. Their power shouldn't prove anything, the fact that they're sisters and grew up together should, and the fact they're twins. Along with how Towa spent the past 10 years trying to find you, blaming herself for not being able to hold on to you. Said Naruto, narrowing his eyes at Setsuna. Naruto, Moroha, it's fine, as far as she believes, we're complete strangers that just happen to have similar demon energy and some similar features. Especially if Setsuna did lose her memories from the trauma of the fire and our separation. Towa said, not blaming her sister for not believing her. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's the fact that there's no way that someone who indulges in idle slumber, like you do, can be related to me by blood. Stated Setsuna, making Towa flinch and hurt and feeling disheartened that the reason her sister doesn't believe her is because she sleeps. Oh, we're so sorry, we didn't know people from the feudal era were paranoid to the point of insomnia. Sorry that we like to relax here, in the modern era. No offense to you too. Naruto said sarcastically, before adding the last part at remembering that Towa and Moroha were from the feudal era, even if the former hasn't been there for 10 years. It's fine, but thanks for revealing that new information, Setsu. You've never slept, have you? No, it's not that you haven't slept, it's that you can't. Moroha said, smirking, while having had her suspicions, much to Towa's surprise. But she slept all the time when we were kids. Said Towa. Maybe, but she can't anymore. Her dreams were eaten by the dream butterfly. You're under a nasty curse, a butterfly in the dream world managed to escape over into ours. And because of that, you can never fall asleep, let alone have any dreams, ever again. Revealed Moroha, much to Naruto and Towa's shock, with the former now feeling like a beep at what he said. I'm sorry that happened, and for what I said. I didn't know you couldn't fall asleep at all. Naruto said, now feeling bad that Setsuna couldn't sleep or dream. It doesn't matter, I wasn't even aware of this to begin with, and it changes nothing. The inability to sleep is a benefit, if anything, allowing me to always be vigilant and on guard. Stated Setsuna, not caring if she couldn't sleep or dream. But that's not all, the reason you don't have memories of your childhood is because they were also stolen by the dream butterfly. That's why you can't remember. Moroha said, knowing that's why Setsuna showed no care for her sister. While Towa was shocked and devastated at this. Setsuna can't fall asleep. And she's unable to dream. She had her memories stolen from her. All of this, everything she's had to endure happened because I let go of her hand. It was all my fault. Towa thought with tears in her eyes, as her guilt and self-loathing became even worse at seeing just how much her sisters unknowingly suffered, all because she couldn't hold on to her hand. Towa, you couldn't have known this would happen, don't blame yourself. Said Naruto, putting a hand on the silverette's shoulder, not wanting her to blame herself for something she couldn't have known would happen. Setsuna. Towa said, getting Setsuna and Moroha's attention. What can I do to make Setsuna sleep again? There has to be a way for us to lift the curse so she can go back to having dreams. Said Towa, refusing to believe there wasn't a way she could help her sister. Yeah, there is. The answer's pretty obvious, we gotta capture the dream butterfly. Moroha replied, as that'd be the only way to restore her dreams and memories. So where do we find this butterfly? Questioned Towa. No idea. But one thing I do know is that it's not in the world we're in right now. Said Moroha. We must return to our own timeline, with haste. Setsuna stated, though not for the reasons they wanted to go back. Yep, first we gotta get back to the feudal era and then we can capture the butterfly. Easy as that. Moroha declared, not seeing any problems with the plan. What do you mean easy? How do you plan on getting back to the feudal era? Towa asked, since none of them even knew how they ended up here to begin with. Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure the problem will sort itself out. Moroha replied, since if they could end up in the modern era, then there's likely a way back to the feudal era. Well, if there is a way then I'm going with you. I'll help find the dream butterfly and recover Setsuna's dreams and her memories. Said Towa, knowing she had to do everything she can to help her sister. I'll go too. Naruto said, much to Towa's shock as she looked at him. Naruto, no. You can't go to the feudal era, it'll be dangerous. Especially if there are other demons there, ones that could be even stronger than Mistress Three Eyes and the Hidden. Towa said, not wanting her friend Crush be put in danger. And I'm not going to let my rival and friend leave me in the modern era while she's going off to the feudal era. I told you before, I'm always going to have your back, no matter what, that's not going to change in this era or a different one. Whether you like it or not, Towa, I am going with you and will help you in any way I can. Said Naruto, determined to follow his friend and help her no matter what, with the silverette looking at him in surprise. Wow. I've never seen Naruto this serious and determined before. He looks pretty cool, actually. Towa thought, gaining a light blush, well touched at how much he wants to help her. Before the moment was ruined at his next words. Besides, if the people and demons in the feudal era are as strong as you, Setsuna, Moroha, and Mistress Three Eyes, then there's no way I'm passing on the chance to fight them and get even stronger. Naruto added, smirking eagerly at the chance to fight other people and demons like the three Harem, while Towa immediately face-faulted at his words. You damn idiot, are you crazy? We don't know what we'll encounter, there will probably be demons much stronger than us. And you're gonna just to fight them, Towa shouted, glaring at him in annoyance, with Naruto returning the glare. Oh, like you wouldn't do the same if you didn't have to go butterfly hunting. Retorted Naruto, making Towa growl at him. That's not the point. It's that it'll be dangerous and you clearly aren't thinking about the dangers that we'll encounter there. Said Towa. Ha. So you admit that you would fight the demons and people there? Naruto said while smirking. I admit that you're a dumbass who couldn't fight his way out of a paper bag. Towa yelled. And I admit that you couldn't beat a three-legged blind poodle. Naruto shouted as they glared at each other. Says the idiot who'd lose a fight against a brick wall. Retorted Towa. As the two argued, Moroha and Setsuna looked on in amusement at the scene, the latter being pleased to see she wasn't the only one that got annoyed by the whiskered blonde. So, Setsu, how do you like having even more proof that you two are sisters? You both get annoyed by the same guy. Moroha stated while leaning on the demon slayer, with Setsuna's amusement being replaced by annoyance. Speaking of, with the way they butt heads, I think they may actually like each other. Does that mean you like Naruto too, Setsuna? Moroha asked teasingly, making the twins and Naruto all freeze, while blushing in embarrassment. I'd sooner throw myself into a volcano than liking this fool. Setsuna denied, embarrassed and annoyed at the very notion she'd like someone that annoying. Of course not. He drives me insane, of course I'd never like him. Towa said quickly. She'd be more likely to kill me. And she's crazy and always attacking me. Naruto said, denying liking either sister. Only to be further embarrassed, as well as annoyed in Towa's case, when Moroha grabbed his arm and held it against her chest. So, you're single then? Lucky me. Moroha said while smiling slyly. What? stuttered Naruto as Moroha leaned in closely. And lucky you big boy, you already got to see me naked once. And maybe if you ask nicely, you'll get an even better show. Stated Moroha. What? Towa growled while gritting her teeth, not seeing Moroha's smirk at her anger. This is just too good. Thought Moroha, given she didn't actually have feelings for Naruto, not yet at least. Since she wouldn't deny he is quite the catch, given how good looking he is, along with being a strong fighter and having a good personality. Along with knowing that Naruto and Setsuna don't have feelings for each other either, but felt that may change with how easily he can shatter her Ice Queen persona. But those two, they definitely like each other. They just won't admit it and probably aren't even aware that the other likes them as well. Moroha thought, seeing that Naruto and Towa did like each other. Though Moroha knew one thing for sure, she had no intentions of losing when they reached that point. Once everyone began calming down and had cooler heads, the two Harem and one quarter demon looked at Naruto. Naruto, I meant what I said, this is going to be dangerous. If Mistress Three Eyes was just a weak demon before getting those rainbow pearls, then who knows how powerful other demons are without them and how powerful they'd be with them. Said Towa, wanting him to understand just how dangerous the feudal era will be. She's right, these aren't like the street punks you're used to deal with, they won't hesitate to rip you apart, or worse, if they see an opening. Moroha stated, knowing firsthand how dangerous the feudal era is. Agreed. And it's no place for mercy, if you fight, then it's going to be to the death. You cannot hesitate, as your enemies certainly will not. Setsuna said, making Towa frown and worry at her sister, before looking back at Naruto. And I said I know, and I am prepared to face the dangers. Also, in case you three have forgotten, I'm not helpless myself. Replied Naruto, before holding up his arm as it glowed with demonic energy as sparks of demonic power dancing around his hand. We're aware. But don't forget that the more you use your power, the closer you'll be to turning into a Harem. Setsuna warned, with Naruto nodding as he lowered his arm. I haven't forgotten, but I'm still going. If I become a Harem or even demon, or whatever, I don't care. As long as it means I get to help my friend. Naruto said, only caring about being able to help Towa. Naruto said Towa, feeling touched at how far he's willing to go to help her, even willing to put his own humanity on the line. How you're really something else, aren't you Whiskers? Moroha stated, grinning at Naruto, seeing how far he's willing to go for those he cares about. Yes. I suppose you aren't as annoying as I initially believed. Added Setsuna, feeling her respect for the Uzumaki go up. But don't think that just because you have access to your demonic energy, that you know how to use it. For the time being, while we're here and look for a way back to the feudal era, you'll need to be trained in using and refining your power. The same goes for you. Setsuna said, looking at Naruto and Towa, knowing if they'll be going with them back to the feudal era, they'll need training and refining their demonic powers. And I can help with that. I can even teach you how to use spiritual power as well, since for the time being, you're still human and can use it like me. Added Moroha, while looking at Naruto, who nodded in thanks. Thanks, I appreciate the help. Naruto replied, with Towa nodding as well. So do I, said Towa while smiling at her twin sister, hoping this would give them a chance to try and bond again, until they can find the dream butterfly. The group then began making their plans for when they go to the feudal era, knowing they'll have a lot to do for when they get there. Hard to believe, I'm really leaving this place to travel to the past. Naruto thought as he packed away his belongings in his apartment in preparation for when he, Towa, Setsuna, and Moroha travel to the feudal era. The Uzumaki making sure to pack the essentials, such as clothes, toiletries, food, and portable equipment to make food with. Along with making sure to also pack stuff for entertainment, as well as inspiration on how to use his demonic energy and spiritual energy. Taking his anime, including his portable Blu-ray player, the former to watch them via DVD and Blu-ray, and the latter to watch some anime he's downloaded to watch offline. Along with his manga, handheld video games, light novels, and some solar-powered chargers, since they'll be in an era without electricity. Gotta be careful when and where I use this stuff and make sure no one else gets their hands on it. Thought Naruto, knowing he'll need to make sure no one else gets their hands on any future technology, knowing how disastrous it'd be for the timeline. Though as he was packing, Naruto looked at two pictures on his dresser, unsure on what to do with them, before eventually packing them away as well. With him then spotting a Bakken lying under his bed, the whiskered blonde grabbing it and looking over the wooden sword. Almost forgot I had this thing. Naruto muttered, seeing it was still in good condition despite being under his bed for so long, his mind drifting back to when he still used it regularly and was still being trained. Flashback. You're expelling me, shouted a 10-year-old Naruto, sitting in front of his Kenjutsu instructor, Ikawa, looking at her in anger and betrayal. Having just been called into her office, in her dojo, only to hear that she was expelling him, with Ikawa sighing while rubbing her temples. knowing this was how Naruto was going to react to the news, but there was nothing she could do about it. I don't have a choice, Naruto, this is the 12th time you've put your peers in the hospital, most of them being lucky to have made a full recovery. Even if I don't want to, with all the complaints I'm getting, the dojo will be closed down if I don't do something. I'm sorry, but this is the only choice I have left. Ikao said, not wanting to expel Naruto, but she couldn't risk her students leaving or parents pulling their children out to avoid them being sent to the hospital. It's not my fault. I wouldn't have done any of that if those assholes wouldn't shut up about shit that wasn't true. Naruto retorted, only angrier at hearing the reason for why he was being expelled, with the perplexed sighing again while looking at him sadly. I understand that his death hurt you, Naruto, and that you have a right to be angry that people are blaming you for it just because of how you look. But he wouldn't have wanted you, his adopted brother, to hurt your peers because of him. He'd want you to move on and keep living your life, not act like how people see you. Said Ikao, with Naruto simply scowling as he stood up, knowing she's already made her decision and there's nothing he can do to change it. And what the hell do you know? You aren't the one being used as a scapegoat, the one being blamed for the death of someone you cared about and looked up to. And go ahead, expel me, I don't need you or your damn lessons. Naruto said, before stalking out of the office and the dojo. Then flashback. That was the last time I ever talked to Ikao. And the last time I ever used this thing. Naruto thought, having stopped using his Bakken after that, instead focusing only on hand-to-hand combat, mostly out of spite for Ikao, and to show her that he didn't need her lessons to be strong. But given the dangers he'll no doubt encounter in the feudal era, not to mention what else they'll run into along the way, Naruto figured it may be good to get back into using Kenjutsu. Putting the Bakken into a sling on his backpack before he began putting the stuff he won't be taking to the feudal era into some bags. Planning to sell and pawn the stuff off for cash that he'd then use to get stuff he and the girls could use in the feudal era. Especially since Naruto wasn't sure just how long they'll be in the feudal era. Which is also why he's cleaning out his apartment, as well he's been able to get by on his rent by doing odd jobs as a means to make money. There's a good chance that with how long they may be gone, that he may end up missing his rent and get evicted by his landlord. And Naruto didn't want to have all his stuff thrown to the curb as trash. I'm really glad Mrs. Higurashi and Grandpa Higurashi are willing to let me stay at the Higurashi shrine. Naruto thought, thankful they're letting him stay at the Higurashi shrine until it's time for him, Towa, Setsuna, and Moroha to travel to the Warring Age. Once his packing was finished, Naruto looked at his now empty apartment. Giving it one last look before turning the lights off and closing the door for the final time. Later Higurashi shrine. After arriving at the Higurashi shrine, Naruto was shown to Sumta's old room, where he'd be staying, with Towa and Setsuna helping him get unpacked and settled in. While Moroha was lounging on the bed and reading some of his manga. I never realized the modern era had so many interesting forms of entertainment. Moroha stated in amazement, not thinking the modern era would have stuff like this, not seeing the annoyed expressions that Naruto and her cousins were giving her. Yeah, by all means, make yourself comfortable. Naruto said sarcastically. It's not like you could help us or anything. Towa added in annoyance. Or perhaps you simply just know how to lay around while others do the work for you. Stated Setsuna, the quarter demon looking at them before shrugging and letting out an annoyed huff. Just found out we're related and you both are already bossing your adorable cousin around. Moroha said but got up and began helping them anyway. Perhaps you two are related, but you've yet to still give me sufficient proof that we share blood. Setsuna retorted, still not believing she and Towa are twins. Are you just allergic to family? Is that why you refuse to accept you're related? Scared you'll get a rash from having a sister that loves you and a cousin that's trying to get you to lighten up? Naruto asked the demon slayer, causing Setsuna to narrow her eyes at him. I can kill you. Stated Setsuna, which Naruto shrugged. Yeah, you're real tough and scary. Like an adorable puppy that's growling at someone when really, they just want to be petted. Is that what the puppy wants? Does the puppy want to be petted? Said Naruto in a baby voice, even reaching to pet her on the head, making Setsuna growl and smack his hand away. Try it and it'll be the last time you ever have hands. Setsuna growled. Ah, the puppy's getting cranky and needs a nap. Naruto said with a smirk. You growled Setsuna before taking a breath and looking away while swearing to get back at him. While Moroha and Towa watched the interaction, the former with an amused smirk and the latter in annoyance and jealousy at their interactions. Though the quarter demon then spotted the two pictures Naruto had packed, looking at them with a curious expression. Hey Naruto, who are those people? Moroha asked, getting their attention as they saw her looking at the pictures, with Towa and Setsuna looking at the pictures curiously as well, before the silverette recognized one of the people in the pictures. That's Shisui Uchiha. He's a famous mixed martial arts fighter, known in the ring as Swift Fist Shisui, with how fast he could beat someone before they'd even realize they lost. Towa said in amazement, having been a big fan of him when she was younger, remembering how she used to always watch his matches with Setsuna. Yeah, he was also my adoptive older brother. The other people are my parents, Minato Namikaze and his fiancée Kushina Uzumaki. Revealed Naruto, with Towa's head snapping towards him, looking at the whiskered blonde in shock that he was Shisui's brother. Huh. Well, where's Shisui now? Since I figured we'd have seen him with you already. Moroha stated, looking at the two, wondering where Shisui was if they haven't seen him with Naruto already, only to see the two look down solemnly. He's dead, he was murdered by a local yakuza. They tried bribing Shisui to take a dive in an upcoming match, but he refused, and they killed him for it. That was probably the first time I used my demonic energy, as I only remember seeing red. And when I came to, I was standing around a bunch of injured and crippled yakuza members. Which combined with the way I look, it led to me being arrested as well, with most people blaming me for Shisui's death, believing I had a hand in it. Naruto replied, making Towa, Moroha, and even Setsuna look at him in shock and empathy, not believing he had to go through that and even see it happen. "I'm sorry you had to go through that," said Setsuna, since she couldn't imagine what that must have been like for him, with how young he most likely was as well. "Yeah, sorry for asking and bringing up bad memories," Moroha said, feeling bad at making Naruto relive memories like that. "Naruto, I had no idea you went through that. I'm sorry you had to go through that alone and didn't have anyone to help you," Towa said while putting a hand on his shoulder, not believing her friend had to experience something like that while being reminded of how she lost Setsuna when they were younger. "Thanks, but none of you could have known, so you don't have to apologize," replied Naruto, nodding at them in thanks, before his mind went to just before he arrived at the Higurashi shrine, having made a quick stop before coming here. Flashback. "Sorry, we're closed for the day," said Ikao at hearing the door open while she was putting the equipment away, thinking it's someone coming to sign up for lessons. "That's fine, I didn't plan on staying long," Naruto stated, making Ikao freeze before turning around and looking at him in shock. "Naruto?" Ikao said in shock at seeing her former student here, not expecting him to ever come back after how they left things before. Hey, been a while. I wanted to come by and say sorry for what I said before," Naruto replied awkwardly, given he'd admit that he might have gone a bit far with what he said the last time they saw each other. "I'm not mad, Naruto, I understand that you lashed out and felt betrayed by what I did. I just want you to know, it was never personal against you. Though what made you decide to come by now, after all this time?" questioned Ikao, wondering what brought on this sudden visit and apology. "I'm going to be out of town for a while and just wanted to make amends before I left so I wouldn't have any regrets when it was time for me to leave. Since I don't know when I'll be coming back," Naruto answered. "Or if I'll be coming back at all," thought Naruto, knowing there's a chance he could end up dying or stuck in the past. Along with the chance that when they did find the dream butterfly and restored Setsuna's dreams and memories, that Towa may choose to stay in the feudal era with her sister and cousin. And Naruto wasn't about to abandon his friend crush if she chose to stay in her original time period. This made Ikao gain a small smile as she looked at the whiskered blonde. "Despite how we haven't kept in touch or seen each other, I still kept tabs on you, Naruto, since it was the least I could do for you. And from what I've seen, I'm sure that Shisui would be proud of how you've turned out," Ikao said, making Naruto nod in response. "Thanks, you don't know how much it means for me to hear that. So, see you, Ikao," replied Naruto before taking his leave. Then flashback. "So what about your parents? Where are they?" asked Moroha, wanting to change the subject and make up for her earlier question, with Towa and Setsuna looking at her with unamused expressions. "You don't really think before acting, do you?" Setsuna stated, doubting his answer would be any different than what happened with Shisui. "Moroha, I don't want to sound mean, but please think before opening your mouth," said Towa, knowing that also wasn't a good subject. "It's fine, she didn't mean anything by it and is only trying to ease the mood. Though aside from that picture, I never really knew them since they died when I was too young to remember them. All I know is that not long after they brought me home from the hospital, the house they lived in caught on fire. And from what I heard, they died getting me out of there," said Naruto, making Moroha wince at bringing up even more bad memories. "You've been through so much, Naruto," Towa thought, looking at her rival, friend, and crush, seeing that before he met her, his life seemed to be just one tragedy after another. It simply made her more glad for the day they met that she was able to bring some happiness into his life and be his friend. "I'll just shut up now," Moroha muttered, not wanting to say or ask anything else bad. "It's fine, Moroha, you couldn't have known and were just curious. There's nothing wrong with that, so don't feel bad," assured Naruto, with the quarter demon smiling and nodding at him, thankful he wasn't upset with her questions. "Perhaps it'd be best if we went out to train," Setsuna suggested before any more depressing topics could be brought up, with Naruto, Towa, and Moroha nodding in agreement. "Yeah, let's go. I've been wanting to get out and stretch my legs," said Moroha, not liking being stuck inside all day. "It would be good to better figure out what we can do," Towa said, wanting to find out what else she can do with her demonic energy besides creating her demonic energy sword. "Cool, let's go," said Naruto, eager to start training and learning to use his demonic energy, as well as to find out what he can do. The four exited the room and prepared to leave the shrine and head into the forest, only to stop when Santa and Mrs. Higurashi called out to them from the kitchen. "Hey, before you four leave, the test results came back in, if you wanted to know what they were," Mrs. Higurashi said, making the group stop and head for the kitchen instead. The test results being a blood test between Towa and Setsuna, something that Naruto had suggested with how stubborn Setsuna was being about accepting that she and Towa are sisters. The demon slayer at first being against the idea, not trusting technology from the modern era or that they could do a fake test. But after Naruto implied that she was scared of being proven wrong or was refusing to accept the truth, Setsuna gladly let them take a blood sample. If only so she could rub it in the Uzumaki's face that he was wrong and she was right. "And?" said Setsuna, eager to finally show the smug blonde that she was right. "It's a match, you and Towa are twin sisters," Santa revealed, making the Harem freeze with wide eyes before slowly looking at Naruto, Moroha, and her now confirmed twin sister. Seeing all three of them had smug expressions, with Towa also smiling happily at seeing that Setsuna now couldn't deny the fact that they were really sisters. "So, how's it feel to finally be wrong for once, cousin?" Moroha asked, smirking at the demon slayer. "Unless you have more excuses to avoid the truth. By all means, we're eager to hear how you'll avoid it this time," added Naruto, while looking at Setsuna to see if she'll keep denying it even after seeing undeniable proof. "Shut up," said Setsuna, while blushing in embarrassment and annoyance, knowing if she tries to keep denying it, then she'll only look like a child throwing a tantrum, so she relented at the proof before looking at Towa. "Fine, we're truly sisters. But this changes nothing, it only means I expect more from you when we return to the feudal era, as I refuse to have anyone of my blood look weak," Setsuna stated, willing to accept that they're really sisters, but now expecting more from Towa in the feudal era. "I know, and I won't let you down, Setsuna, not again," Towa said, determined to prove herself to her twin and not let her down, like she did before in the forest. "Seriously? You finally got proof that you both are sisters, and that's all you have to say? You really do need to lighten up, Setsu," Naruto stated, not believing that's all Setsuna had to say. "Yeah. Honestly, we'd be more excited than you if we had found out we had a long-lost sibling by blood. Come on, at least smile, Setsu," added Moroha, making Setsuna growl in annoyance. "Both of you shut up and stop calling me that," Setsuna said in annoyance, while the Silverette laughed awkwardly at the scene. Even this was a common theme recently, with Naruto and Moroha teasing and taunting Setsuna, especially the former with how he's able to get a reaction out of her. "Still, I finally have proof that Setsuna and I are sisters. Even if she still needs to come to terms with it and accept it, I'll wait as long as I need to. And all we have left is to find the dream butterfly so she can get her dreams and memories back," thought a smiling Towa, knowing that's what they really needed to help Setsuna. "And she won't stop until they find it." Later. The group had then headed into the forest to begin Naruto's and Towa's training, with them starting off by training and sparring with their Bakken. As a way to help Naruto get used to using one again and to see what both of them knew and where they needed to improve. With the two sparring against each other, while Setsuna and Moroha stood off to the side and observed them. Naruto grunting as he blocked a strike from Towa, only for the Silverette to quickly move her Bakken and hit him on his side. "And here I thought you only knew how to use your fists," Towa taunted while blocking an overhead strike from Naruto, only to wince when he struck her arm before she swatted his Bakken away and began pushing him back. "And here I thought you could only use that big mouth of yours," retorted Naruto, jumping back when the Harem swung at his chest. "I'm sorry, you must have me confused with yourself. Since you're usually the one who can't shut up," said Towa while pushing her Bakken down onto Naruto's, the whiskered blonde gritting his teeth before managing to force Towa's Bakken up, allowing him to escape and get behind her. The Silverette grunting when he hit her in the back before she managed to roll away from his next strike, followed by swinging her Bakken at the back of his legs, bringing him to his knees. "Oh look at that, I've gotten you down on your knees in front of me. The position suits you," Towa said mockingly, only to gasp when stabbed his Bakken into her stomach, knocking the wind out of her. "And it seems like I got you bent over, gasping for air. The position suits you," taunted Naruto, before blocking her next strike as they tried forcing the other back. "I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or not, but this is just great," Moroha thought while trying to muffle her laughter, as she could just feel the sexual tension between Naruto and Towa, while Setsuna watched them in intrigue, focusing on their movements and styles. Towa. You're thinking too much and hesitating to make fatal strikes. If you see a chance to end your opponent, then you need to take it, otherwise they will end you. You can't think in a fight, you need to act and be ready to react to your enemy's attacks. Setsuna said, seeing that her sister seemed to hesitate to make what would be fatal attacks, having seen it before with Mistress Three Eyes when she refused to make the kill. You also need to slow down, Naruto. You rush in too quickly, leaving yourself open to attacks. You must remain aware of your surroundings at all times. Rather than just focusing on what's in front of you. Said Setsuna, seeing that while Naruto was good at reacting and going to strike opponents, he didn't remain aware of his entire surroundings, instead only on what's in front of him. You also need to use your senses to help predict when and where an enemy will strike from. Moroha added, given their enhanced senses would help them in predicting where enemies are and when they're about to strike at them. With Naruto and Towa hearing all this as they continued sparring, unaware that things were becoming more intense before they both jumped back. With Towa's eye flashing silver, while Naruto's pupils started narrowing into slits, with their bakens starting to glow before they rushed each other again. Their bakens clashing against each other, resulting in a sudden shockwave being unleashed from the clash. With Setsuna's and Moroha's eyes widening, before they rushed in and separated the two before they could go any further. That's enough sparring for today. Setsuna stated, seeing they were beginning to subconsciously tap into their demonic energy, which would result in one or both of them getting seriously hurt. Yeah, let's cool it lovebirds, I think you flirted enough for one day. Added Moroha with a smirk, while Naruto and Towa blushed in embarrassment. We were, and no not low lovebirds. Towa stuttered. And we definitely weren't flirting. Said Naruto. Oh please, with how hot and bothered you both were getting, I half expected you both to start tearing each other's clothes off. And right in front of your own sister and cousin, you really are shameless Towa. Said Moroha as her smirk grew, with Naruto and Towa's embarrassment only growing at her words. And you wonder why I denied the idea of us sharing blood. Setsuna said while shaking her head, though she did take some enjoyment in Naruto's embarrassment. Yet you still love me. Moroha said, smiling sweetly at the demon slayer. Like a migraine. Retorted Setsuna before looking at Naruto and Towa. It seems you both access your demonic energy in heightened emotional states, but given how neither of you have had proper teachers in controlling your power, this would be expected. So the first thing we should do is having you both learn to consciously tap into and use your power to avoid it lashing out. Setsuna said, knowing how dangerous demonic energy can be if it's not controlled, given she has to have her own demonic energy sealed away to avoid the risk of losing control. And I can start teaching Whiskers here to use spiritual energy. But we may have to do it alone or we could end up hurting Towa and Setsu here. You don't mind being alone with me, do you Naruto? Moroha asked, looking at him slyly while grabbing his arm, while Towa narrowed her eyes at her in annoyance and jealousy. I don't think I should answer that. Naruto said nervously, having the feeling that no matter what answer he gives, it won't be the right one. You'll train here to lower the chance of anyone finding us by training in different locations. And I doubt he'll be using anything involving spiritual energy that would be dangerous to us. Said Setsuna, making Naruto mentally sigh in relief, while Towa smiled at her sister. Fine, but we'll still have to some distance between us, just to be safe, you know. Moroha replied, wanting to take the chance to spend some time with Naruto and get closer to him, along with egging Towa on, as the Silverette growled lowly at her. Later. The four had trained until the sun had gone down, with Setsuna and Moroha being impressed with the progress that Naruto and Towa had begun making. The two picking things up faster than they expected with their lack of previous training in using demonic energy and spiritual energy, in Naruto's case. With Naruto even developing two new techniques to use with his demonic energy and spirit energy. The spirit gun from Yu Yu Hakusho, or demon gun when he's using his demonic energy. And the Jutsuga Tenshin from Bleach when he's using his demonic energy or spirit energy with a sword, in this case his Bakken. Once their training ended, they decided to go to a ramen stand that Naruto and Towa would visit on occasion, called Ichiraku Ramen. Setsuna and Moroha finding out that it's owned by a father and daughter duo, named Tuchi and Am. Naruto, Towa. Glad to see you both again. Am said, smiling at the two as they took their seats. And you brought company. Who are these two young ladies? Questioned Tuchi. I'm Moroha and the grump here is Setsuna. Moroha introduced with a grin, while Setsuna gave her an annoyed look. The best thing to do is just ignore her and hope she'll go away. Unfortunately, I've had little luck in that regard. Said Setsuna, with the two merely laughing in good nature. Nice to meet you both. So, what'll you all be having? Tuchi said, with each of them placing their orders, with their ramen soon being brought out. So Naruto, is this a date? You couldn't settle for just Towa and wanted to bring 2 more girls? Am asked with a small smirk, while her father laughed a little at this. That's rather bold of you, Naruto, asking 3 young ladies out at the same time. You must have a way with words to get all of them to say yes. Added Tucci. But their words only serving to embarrass Naruto and Towa, while Setsuna was annoyed and Moroha was amused. With the former 2 also choking on their ramen since they weren't expecting the sudden teasing. Oh yes, he has such a way with words. The way he asked, we just couldn't say no, oh it was so romantic. Moroha said, swooning while grabbing Naruto's arm, which only further embarrassed the whiskered blonde. It's not like that. Towa said quickly, while giving Moroha an annoyed look. It will never be like that. Stated Setsuna firmly, not even entertaining the idea of being with someone who annoys her as much as Naruto does. Never say never, Setsu, Moroha said teasingly, with the demon slayer glaring at her in annoyance, with Towa doing the same along with her jealousy flaring up again. It's really not like that. Said Naruto, while wishing for the ground to just swallow him at the moment. Thankfully, the 4 had soon finished their food before they paid and headed off to return home. Though not long after leaving Ichiraku's, they were stopped by someone's shout. Hey Uzumaki. Someone shouted, making the 4 stop to see who spoke, only for Naruto and Towa to frown at seeing the gang members that took the latter's family hostage, before Setsuna and Moroha appeared with Mr.'s 3 eyes. What the hell do you dumbuses want? If it's another beating, then come back tomorrow. Said Naruto, with the boss growling and stepped forward as they all glared at him. We aren't going anywhere, not until we beat you into the ground for blinding one of my guys. The boss shouted. Yeah, maybe that was uncalled for. I should have crippled his arms so he couldn't hold any more knives at kids' throats. Stated Naruto, not really caring about blinding someone who was willing to hold a knife to a child's neck. Bet them. Yelled the boss as the delinquents charged at the 4. Are they serious? Moroha asked, looking at them with a raised brow. Unfortunately, they aren't very smart. Replied Towa, knowing this isn't gonna take long. Let's just deal with this quickly and then leave. Stated Setsuna, not interested in wasting any more time than necessary on fools like them. Naruto, Towa, and Moroha nodding in agreement before running at the delinquents, with Moroha jumping over the short one while grabbing his shoulders. Flipping him over herself and slamming him into the ground before lifting him up and uppercutting him in the chin, sending him flying up and down on the ground. But Setsuna ducking under the big one swing before delivering a spin kick to his head, then jumping up and slamming her knee into his chin, sending him flying back. Naruto kicked the tall one's legs out from under them before smashing his fist into his face, sending him crashing into the ground. Finally, Towa rushed the leader from before, punching him twice in the stomach and chest, followed by grabbing him the collars and headbutting him. Before kicking him in the chest, sending him skidding across the ground to the other thugs. But only the boss left, who's now shaking at the sight of seeing his gang get taken down so quickly. But before he could try to run, he was kicked in the back of the head by Moroha. Sending him stumbling right into Towa's right hook, which knocked him towards Setsuna, who slammed her fist into his stomach, knocking the wind out of him. Along with making him back up right into Naruto, who grabbed him by his collar. Now, I'm gonna say this once, you and your little asshole followers, get the hell out of here. Naruto shouted, throwing the boss into the other gang members while using some of his demonic energy to increase the power of his throw. Resulting in the boss and the other delinquents being sent flying through the air off into the distance. Before they soon landed right outside of a police station, startling everyone outside. Before they were soon recognized and arrested as they were dragged into the station. Woohoo. Oh man, that was fun. Pretty boring and short, but it's still fun to kick the shit out of some bastards like that. Moroha said, always enjoying the chance to beat up people that annoy her. Let's just go, I'd prefer not encountering any more fools like that for the duration of our stay here. Said Setsuna, with Naruto and Towa nodding in agreement, neither of them interested in dealing with any other delinquents they've dealt with before. But that done, the group headed back to the Higurashi shrine, dropping Naruto off and exchanging goodbyes. Before Towa, Setsuna, and Moroha headed back to the condo that they're currently staying at with Sma, Mo, and Mei. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video guys, let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, bye bye.